It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
College football. This is our reaction for week one of college football. So, Sergio, let's go ahead and start with you. Go ahead and pick what was the game of the weekend for you.
It has to be Florida State. Considering last year, the end of last year, the 3-game losing streak, it has to be the only matchup in the week, really week one, because this is a week zero. The only week one matchup that actually had two ranked teams in the schedule. Two, people can say the most overhyped school slash team coming into the summer, Florida State, had the incredible transfer team coming in. It has to be Florida State. I would say an honorary mention in terms of week one has to be Clemson's loss. I think it's at the beginning of the end of the dynasty of Clemson, and you can see all the reports that came out with Dabo Sweeney as it pertains to him not supporting the athletes getting paid, the NIL deals. Um, the irony that Clemson and Florida State are probably getting closer to leaving the ACC, and now the ACC is actually looking to be more interesting than it ever was.
That I do agree. I think Florida State was the game of the week against LSU here in Orlando. And LSU looked pretty good, but Florida State just looked that much better. And at the end of it, once Florida State got its offense going on the second half, and actually right before the end of the second half, there was just no way to stop them. There's so many weapons that Florida State has right now. You have a Heisman candidate, two future first round picks in the wide receiving. Their tight ends are well played. Their old line is doing their job, and then the defense, bandit don't break. That was amazing, especially to be able to stop LSU on that first drive that they had in the 1 yard line. Pretty amazing. What about you, Raul? What do you have for us?
Well, I think we have to go with the other team that really surprised us this weekend, and it was the Colorado Buffaloes versus TCU. I think everybody was expecting something out of Deion Sanders' team, but nobody expected a win. They came in firing. They put up 45 points to TCU, and granted, they didn't have a great defense last year, but they went to the college football championship game. And even though they lost to the eventual champions, Georgia Bulldogs, everybody was surprised, and we were expecting a lot of things from TCU, especially now in the last year of the Big 12, at least for some teams. But Deion Sanders' team, came in, they kicked TCU in the mouth, and they won the game, which was eventually no nobody was expecting to. So I would personally would choose that team in that game for a game of the week.
And I agree. That was such a great wave to start the Saturday programming for college football with such a huge upset. And Travis Hunter was just amazing, playing over 150 snaps, playing offense and defense, and making plays. He was the best offensive player and the best defensive player in that game. So I 100% agree that that is definitely up there. So let's go ahead and look into week two now that we kind of seen the first view of all of our teams out there. What do you think is going to be the game to watch this weekend? Let's go ahead and go with real roll.
Um, I'm trying not to be biased here, but I think we know 3:30 ABC on Saturday. We're looking at UM versus Texas A&M. Um, UM has a UM's team has changed. They have a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. They still have TBD, probably his last year on the team, but they have improved a lot from last year. There's going to be Mario Cristobal's second year, and they're looking into a better season than the last one. Obviously, they had a horrible season to the standards and the expectation that was created upon Cristobal's arrival. They have improved the offensive line. They have a few transfers, specifically Javian Cohen from Alabama and Matt Lee from UCF. They've definitely improved the offensive line, and they're going to provide a lot of security, at least for Mister Van Dyne to play his game. So I would say it's going to be an interesting game. Obviously, Texas A&M is the favorite team to win this game. They have a ton of 4 and 5 stars um, ready to go, but there's you know there is a small possibility that UM will put up a fight and possibly make it a real interesting game. So that would be my pick for week 2.
I I'm gonna go a little bit bigger.
That's a great pick because this gives the opportunity. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm gonna go a little bit bigger in scale. And I get it, Ro, the whole UM thing. So, and to be fair, right? To be fair, if they win,
I do
considering
want to correct something before you start. I do want to correct something that Rose stated and it was wrong. It's not in ABC, it's the History Channel. That's all. That's all I wanted to update to everybody.
well, it has to be because if UM was relevant, it has to be in the past. But anyways,
Here we go.
Yeah,
Okay.
the last fans that saw them win a championship, they're collecting disabilities right now and their pensions and stuff. It's just been so long, just so
correct,
long.
Okay. Okay.
correct. I
But
think
I'll give them this with the way that Clemson played last week. If Miami is able to go ahead and take that extra step, there's that possibility that they could end up in the ACC championship against Florida State. So we might see that matchup twice. It all really depends on how Clemson's going to answer and how North Carolina's trajectory is going to be after their big win against South Carolina this past weekend. So
yeah,
opportunities for UM to step up and make a scene, especially now with the whole realignment stuff going on. This is the perfect opportunity for them to catch fire and to build their brand before the ACC folds, because it is. So what were you going to say, Sergio?
yeah. I was gonna say that if you look at week 2, the most interesting, I guess, taking out the subjective element of your alma mater, or the team you play for, or the team you like, excuse me, it has to be Texas and Alabama for 2 reasons. One, college football playoffs implication, right? It's always like that with Alabama. They've been the team of the last 20 years. So anytime they lose, it's a big deal, i.e., Johnny Manziel a couple years ago beat Bama in Tuscaloosa. And because of that performance, he won the Heisman. Last year in Texas, me and Raul were rooting for Texas last year. The quarterback gets injured, right? And we think that he's amazing. He's back now. And they, just to refresh your memory, they called when the guy who got drafted from Bama. What was the quarterback from Bama? He just got drafted.
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young from went to the Panthers. He got a safety. The Texas D line literally caused a safety to him, and they called a PI 15-yard penalty on the Texas linebacker on a crucial part of the game, and it was at Texas. So Texas had all the elements to win that game. Unfortunately, they didn't. I think it was a very close game, and we had to go back to see what the score was in that. This time around, Bama, just like Clemson, it's not the same team. We've been seeing cracks in the armor within the last couple of years, and we're saying that very disingenuous because Clemson and Bama were battling for titles the last 7 to 8 years. So it's refreshing to see that Texas could potentially do it. And you want to talk about a program that once they get over the hump has to be Texas, right? They have no issues recruiting, no issues with their money, their alumni, and they haven't won a title since Vince Young. They beat Bama. That's the new talk for the next week until they win probably the conference. So that's why I think Bama and Texas is the highlight game of the week, taking the subjective element out. Only because if Bama loses, everybody will talk about it on ESPN and Fox Sports because that's how it is. Bama loses, it is what it is. Because if Texas lose, nobody really cares. They'll be like, "Oh, same old Texas." When it's Archie Manning playing, right? As opposed to if they win, oh, now we're gonna take them serious.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with the last statement right there. If Texas loses, this sets precedent on how they're going to compete next year when they join the SEC. So this is a big game for Texas fans and the Texas University. Walking into Alabama show that they belong in the SEC from the get-go. This is like you walking into prison and finding the biggest fight to show and get respect. If they get embarrassed in Tuscaloosa, they're going to be the laughing stock of the SEC for decades.
Here's the thing: your assessment would be correct if Texas wasn't a disappointment after 2005. They've been consistently underwhelming since Vince Young left the school. So it's not like we're talking about powerhouse Texas Longhorn. The Texas Longhorns is one of these schools that you're like, how does that happen? Like the school is not really that relevant, but it has a huge fan base. That stadium always gets packed. The alumni base, the money, but it's just one of those schools like Michigan, last title in '96, that you start thinking to yourself, is the brand more relevant than the actual success what they're making? And I think that's Texas. Because again, your statement would have been, I would have agreed with you if Texas was pulling 11, 10 wins a season. They don't. They haven't in the last 15 years. So when you say that, oh, you got to prove to go to Bama to the SEC, we could probably say that, let's say they're going to the SEC next year. Spoiler alert, they'll probably get destroyed. Why? Because it's Texas. So they need to win Bama because they haven't done so in the last 15 years.
Well,
Hmm.
that is true, but again, you're coming into a different conference. You want to be able to come in quick and hard and kind of put your footing in there, and why not do it against Alabama? Like that would be the perfect team to go in, take the W from them, and literally cement yourself as like, hey, y'all were not able to beat Bama, but we could. That's a big statement for them to come into the SEC next year, coming out with a win this upcoming weekend.
I
All
think
right.
that
So, yeah, go
I think
ahead.
before we leave, we should do a quick upset special, just like I called. I want to get my credit now. I called Duke last week. You were my witness. You got to
Yes,
sign an
yes, you did.
affidavit. I'm just saying. Does anybody got any upsets coming up?
Upsets. I think I got one, and this is going to be an interesting one. I think the Giant Slayer is coming for the University of North Carolina. I think App State's going to go ahead and go into um, Chapel Hill and steal a win against UNC this weekend.
Talk about Appalachian State.
Appalachian State.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're only
okay.
a 2 touchdown difference in the Vegas spread right now. And I've seen Appalachian State actually beat other people with bigger odds against them. So I believe that that's the team that's going to go ahead and get the upset this upcoming weekend.
Well, I'm
Well,
gonna have to
What do you
keep
think,
it
Raul?
biased here. I think UM beats Texas A&M on Saturday. I think Tyler Van Dyne
Of
shows
course you
up.
do.
The
Why
the
did we
offensive
even
line
bring
shows
this segment up?
and I think it's going to be a tight game. But I think that the defense of Miami is going to show up as well, and they're gonna prevent the score going too high. And I think it's going to probably they'll keep Texas within 20, 21 to 25 points, I believe, and I think they get the win at home, and they get the upset against Texas A&M.
I could tell this is such a biased pick because the spread between Texas A&M and Miami is only 4 points and a half. So this is a
So be
team.
it.
This is a home advantage for the University of Miami. So that's 3 points right there that they usually give for that. So literally, the spread, if it was on a neutral field, is less than a point.
He's going on
Okay,
a little.
How
He's
is
going on a
this an
little.
upset alert?
right.
It's
According to
like,
the
oh,
numbers,
we're
it
gonna
should
kick
be.
that
But
field goal and beat them that way.
I'll give you another one. Let's remove the bias, and let's put Miami on the side. There's a really interesting game that Saturday as well. Nebraska at Colorado. Because of their win against TCU, ranked TCU last week, Colorado is now ranked 22nd on the AP rankings, and they're going against Nebraska. Nebraska has been recruiting at a really high level after I believe Matt Rule got back to college football. Has been recruiting amazingly for Nebraska. They have a really competent team that could be an upset alert to a newly a 22nd Colorado team, which granted, they put up 45 points against a really bad TCU defense, but still a ranked team. It's going to be a really interesting game, and Nebraska might pull it up.
Wow,
I'm gonna go.
that is a bold one. That is a bold one.
Upset indeed.
I'm gonna do another one. Yeah, you got to get me on this one. I'm
All right.
calling Heisman candidate Hartman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish losing at Raleigh, North Carolina against the Wolfpack.
That is also another great
That's a stretch.
pick.
That's a stretch. I'll
I
say
could
it. I'll
actually
say it
see
right
that
now.
actually.
No. Oh my God.
What's the spread in that game? I'm trying to find the spread on that game.
Hey, it's going. It's go that is. I'll look
It's
that
7.5.
up
Yeah,
right
so
now.
Notre Dame by touchdown.
But you got to think about it. They're playing at North Carolina State, so they have Notre Dame by a touchdown. I have seen that spread so mistake. Yeah, no, I could actually see it. I could actually see that upset for sure.
Let me remind you, and the reason, and I'll end it with this. Let me remind you, the reason why I think they're going to win is not because it's hard to play at NC State, because it is. Not because the Wolfpack are a thorn at people's FSU, at people's schedule. But if you look at Notre Dame's first two games, they're cupcakes. And so Hartman has been destroying JV teams. It's hard to win in North Carolina State, excuse me, NC State. It's not that easy. And Hartman, Wake Forest, I think is in the Carolina. I think it's in North Carolina. So Wake Forest. So I think Wake Forest has a history of playing NC State. No bueno for Hartman.
I agree. I agree. All right, so let's go ahead and end it up. Or let's go ahead for the people that are following our college football draft. We did get the final scores for week one. In first place, it is Sergio with 29 points. Raul comes in second place with 27 points. I come right back in last at 21 points. So the matchups that we're going to be looking at, it's going to be Boise State versus UCF. That is going to be a matchup between my team, Boise State, and Raul's UCF team. So that's going to be a lot of fun. After that, we also going to be looking at Tulane versus Ole Miss. I have Tulane in my selection. Sergio has Ole Miss in this one. And then we have what will probably be the game of the week: Texas versus Alabama. Raul and Sergio matching up on this one to see who will be the top premier game. It is Sergio decided to face himself. It'll be UNC versus App State as well for that one. Close games that we're looking at. We're looking at Oregon and Texas Tech. We have another one, Texas A&M and Miami. And then Raul has Utah, Baylor with a 7.5 towards Utah, Notre Dame at NC State. Notre Dame only 7.5 games on that one. And then what I would say, it's Raul's biggest game of the weekend. President Trump will be attending this game, Iowa versus Iowa State. Big rivalry game all the way into cornfields. Raul can't wait to tune in, watch his favorite president,
Dangerous to go
just make a
alone.
mockery of
Take
himself
this.
on live television. And then for myself, we got Wisconsin and Washington. That's a 6.5 game, where Wisconsin is my team and is on upset alert. So that is everything that we have for today. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.